Hello, and welcome to Stage, Screen, and In Between. I'm Helen. Today, I'll be speaking with some of the wonderful actors from The Sopranos who will be at Sopranos Con. Stick with us.
All due respect, he's a great guy, Doc, but boss material.
Important things, we all work together. Whoever winds up in the driver's seat.
Phil, though, I'll never get it. The man was my mentor. It was right there for the taking.
It's hard, Jerry. What's he gonna do?
That's my point, though. What you just said. Johnny goes away, it's Phil's turn in the driver's seat, and his heart gives out.
How exciting is this? Right now, I'm with JOHN Bianco, who played Gerry Torciano in The Sopranos, Season 6, Part 1 and 2. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be with you right now.
That's great. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk to the audience and talk to all the fans about the characters, all the stuff that went on behind the scenes that a lot of people may not know about that we could now reveal.
Right. And right now we're getting ready for Sopranos Con, which is so fabulous. It's something that we all needed, and it's about time. Why didn't I think of it, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
It's like the bobby pin. Like, we all needed it. Why didn't we think of it, right?
Something, right. Yeah, I'm actually very excited about doing this. I've been looking forward to it. I guess it's been probably, he let me know about this. Michael let me know about this probably at least 6 months ago. So for, now it's coming up in November. So I'm really excited about, meeting a lot of the people out there and interacting with everybody, and it's going to really be a blast.
Now, you're going to get to reunite with some other castmates. Do you see any of them at all now?
Yes, actually, I did a film with Federico Castelluccio.
The Brooklyn Banker.
The Brooklyn Banker.
Yeah,
it's a great movie if you haven't seen it.
Michael Risigliano wrote it. Risigliano, I always get that wrong. Wrote that. Yes, you were in that. You were fabulous.
Thank you very much. Yep, Mike also, Risigliano was a great friend of mine. Federico directed the film, and like I said, Paul Savino, David Preval, and it was actually the first time that I actually met David, and he's such a sweetheart of a guy. I can't say enough nice things about David. It was a pleasure working with him, and I play his son-in-law in the movie. Mm-hmm. It was just great. He was great.
So let's get back to Sopranos days. How did you get onto The Sopranos, and what was your reaction when you found out that you were cast?
Well, it's very interesting. It's a very interesting story. I had been reading for that show probably for at least 4 seasons prior to me getting on.
Okay. So you went in front of David Chase.
Correct. The first audition, I met
Georgiana Walken.
Georgiana Walken. And she was great. She scared a lot of people off. She was a very tough.
She also was working with Meredith Tucker at the time, right? Was she there, right?
Yes.
She's a very nice lady. Yeah.
Yes, Meredith Tucker as well. But Georgiana, she's just she was very hard on everybody.
She had to be top show.
Yeah. So the crazy thing about that is, like, I read for so many different characters on that show, and toward the end, probably after the 4th season, I had told my manager, I'm like, maybe they just don't want me. Maybe they're just not liking what I'm doing. I keep getting called back, and then going to producers and meeting David. And
you start to doubt yourself.
You do, and I was like, I just at that point I didn't want to go back. So when I finally did get on the show, I approached Terrence Winter, right, and I said, listen, I have to ask you something. I was rejected so many times, I really didn't want to read for you guys anymore. So he goes, no, John, he goes, I knew we wanted to work with you. It was just a matter of when and for what character. So
See, it's how you read it. They really wanted you. That's why you kept coming back.
Correct, yes. So that actually made, as an actor, that makes you feel good, because now you know that, like, it's not all in vain, and, it paid off in the end.
Yeah, that's so great. So, how has that helped your career, and do you think it could ever top it?
Well, those are very interesting questions. Absolutely, The Sopranos helped my career tremendously. It really put me on the map. In my opinion, it was one of, if not the greatest shows that was ever on TV. So just to be a part of that, and to know how many people really wanted to get on that show, like every Italian American in the United States,
absolutely,
wanted to get on that show. So I'm very proud of the fact that I was a part of history.
History, yes.
Absolutely.
Television history. Now, let me ask you something. When you do the table read, all the cast members have to be there, and James Gandolfini was there, I'm sure. So was that the first time you met him?
Actually, yes, it was. The first time I met him was at the table read for one of the first shows that I had done. And he, hands down, again, a great guy. I was so pleased to meet him and to find out also that he was a really nice guy. He welcomed me on the show. And again, I can't say enough good things about James Gandolfini as well.
Yeah. So now let me ask you, John, do you have any things that you do in between? What do you like to do when you're not acting?
Well, when I'm not acting, I also, over the years, all the years that I've been part of the industry, I learned how to write, shoot, direct, edit. So kind of like a one-man show, because you can't always wait for the phone to ring from your agent or manager to get, regular gigs. So a lot of independent stuff that we do, I do, or short films or stuff like that I do as well.
Yeah. So what do you think the reaction of the fans is going to be when they finally see all these characters together? And, it's been a long time. I mean, it's been off the air, since 2008 or so, right?
2008, yes.
2008, and it started 20 years ago. Is it possible?
Yeah.
It's like everybody needs their Sopranos fix. They're going to just love it, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's right. The show started, I believe, in 1999. So it is 20 years, which is very hard to believe. Yeah. I became a part of that show from 2005 was the first time that I shot. I shot in 2005, 2006. And, I mean, it's going to be exciting for the fans, I'm sure. And, I love the interaction with them as well. So it's always fun.
Is there an episode that you did that stands out in your mind as something that was either surprising, difficult, funny? What episode would you say?
I would say probably the episode where I get to kill Vito. That was interesting because we shot at this hotel. I believe it was on Route 46 in New Jersey. I forget what town it was in. And Frank Vincent comes out of the closet, and the whole metaphor is just hysterical. And Vito,
he was hiding out upstate. That's Vito Spatafore. He was hiding out upstate,
right.
And you guys tracked him down.
Right, we tracked him down. Yep, it was me and Armengaro and I were in the room. Oh, no, it wasn't Armengaro. It was another guy that got killed off. See, I'm forgetting already.
Okay.
But
You'll have to watch the episode again.
Yeah, we did it. We did a number on him, and it was just hysterical, because we just kept telling him, because he had a body double that we were beating up, and it was just like, am I hitting you too hard? And then, I hit the other guy in the hand with the pool stick, and it was just crazy. It was absolutely crazy, but a lot of fun killing people.
So, where do you go from here? You do writing and you do directing, and acting is in your blood. How did you start out, actually?
The funny thing is like, from when I was a kid, I always wanted to be an actor. But it's not something that your parents would push you towards. They wanted you to go the regular road. I had two cousins that were in the stock market. Mm-hmm. So I later did.
You an accountant?
No, I wasn't. I was actually a stockbroker on Wall
okay.
Street. I worked on Wall Street. I worked for Bear Stearns, and I worked for D.H. Blair for 5 years. When the market collapsed way back in '87, it was at that point that I said, you know what, I'm going to go after my dreams. And, I looked into sending out headshots, and I went to HB Studios first, and
I studied there too with Sandy Dennis. But that whole way of contacting people for work has changed. You don't send out headshots anymore, right?
No.
It's all done over the computer. It's so different now.
It's all different.
Did you ever make your rounds and go knocking on doors and leaving your picture and resume in the sleeve of the
Yep.
envelopes
The casting agents.
outside
Yep.
the doors?
Yep. Trying to get agents, just mailing out headshots, but now they don't look at any unsolicited material anymore, so it's like you have to know somebody.
You can't even get in the building. You used to be able to go in the building and go to the door. Now you can't get pass security if you're not on the list.
No, absolutely not. So it's a whole different world. And yeah, so that's, I started way back in like probably 1990. Just the old-fashioned way, sending out the headshots and eventually.
Have you done theater?
I have not done theater.
Really?
I would do it. Mike Rosigliano did do a play with Vinnie Pastore.
Queen for a Day.
Queen for a Day. I wouldn't rule it out. I like the intensity of film. I like the close-up stuff. I like all the acting that's really close. I don't like to be big.
So is there any advice that you would give to anybody that wants to break into the industry?
At this point, I'd say don't do it. Become a cop or a fireman. No, I'm only kidding. I think you always have to follow your dreams. Because at the end of the day, you have to be happy with yourself and the choices that you make in life. And if you don't really explore that and follow your dreams, I feel like you'll always have regrets, and that's not something you want. So whether you make it or not, at least you tried to put your best foot forward, and you went for it. And I think that's really important.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, John. Do you have a website where people can follow you? You're on Instagram. How do we find out more about what you're doing?
Yes, actually, I don't have a website, but I'm on Facebook. You could look me up on Facebook and Instagram. Definitely follow me on Instagram and Facebook. That's the best way to reach me.
Thanks, John.
Thank you so much.
I'll see you at Sopranos Con.
Yes, you will. And all you guys will see me as well.
Yeah. November 23rd and 24th, Meadowlands.
Joe Fama, co-owner of Famous Signs Inc. and co-creator of Sopranos Con.
Michael Mota, co-founder of Sopranos Con and Mob Movie Con, and also CEO of Skyline at Waterplace.
My name's Dan Trader, creator of Time Immemorial and co-creator of Sopranos Con.
Okay. Who came up with this idea?
We did.
We did.
All at the same time?
No, go ahead.
Collectively, it's here. Sure.
You stop.
I mean, we all made this happen. That's the truth is, without all of us, it doesn't happen. I butted an idea a couple of years ago and talked about it, and I met Dan, who wanted to do an event, and then Dan introduced me to Michael, who has done events before, and then we all put our brains together to make this happen.
So, how long did it take from the time of concept to actually start getting going?
So the concept is about 3 years old. We started working on it physically in the end of January of this year. So once we put the idea into play and we talked about, are we going to try to do this, from that moment, within that phone call, we decided this is what we're going to do.
Who was the first actor you approached?
The first actor we approached was Federico Castelluccio, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Were you familiar with him before? Did you have a background with him personally?
I personally did not. One of Michael's great selling points to be a partner with us is that he knew him and has done events with him previously. So that was our open.
How big a Sopranos fan are you?
I'm probably one of the biggest in the country, if not the biggest. I've watched the show about 30 times through to this point.
Really? So you know basically all the characters?
Every character, probably 75-80% of the lines, the humor, the artwork that was used, the cinematography. I mean, you name it, I pretty much know it.
Okay. You want to pass the mic to Michael?
Of course he does.
Okay. So Michael.
Yes.
How are you putting together the different scenes that you're going to have, like pile line? How are you doing that?
So the three of us bring a lot of different things to the table. So I'm more on the marketing side, Dan is more on the social media side, and Joe is more on the creative and building side. So when we came together to put this together, we decided to have a lot of the vision that Joe had explored in his mind years ago, and then when he got with Dan together, and then the three of us. So it's going to be a very experiential type event. We wanted this to be much different than any other con that's out there. Traditional cons will have the booth set up, it'll have the autograph set up. However, we want people to actually experience it. So when you come in, you're going to feel like you're part of the show. You're going to be able to see the feast that goes on in the show and participate in that and have some food and have some cannolis and, meatball sandwiches and gabagol and all that fun stuff. You're also going to be able to go to Dr. Melfi's office, and that's an escape room that Joe's building right now in his studio. You're going to be able to go to the Bada Bing, both physically to the Bada Bing, because we're going to be doing that as well, but we're actually going to have a model of the Bada Bing at Sopranos Con. Yes, you mentioned Pai Oh My. So Pai Oh My played such an important role in the show, and Pai Oh My is actually going to be there as well. We're going to build a stall for her. She's going to take photos, no autographs. She can't fit the Sharpie in her hoof. But, those types of things are going to make and separate us from the rest. A lot of fun stuff to do.
What is the reaction of people when they find out that you're doing this?
Insanity. When we first started this, I think it's worth noting, as Joe mentioned, Joe had been a huge fan. We've all been huge fans throughout the years. I had the fortunate opportunity to put an event on at my home in Providence, Rhode Island, at my venue, Skyline at Water Place. And it was 4 characters. It was Federico Castelluccio, Vincent Pastore, who played Big Pussy. It was Patsy Parisi, Dan Grimaldi, and it was Jason Serbone, who played Jackie Jr. So we had a very small event, but it was fun. It was dinner. It was Q&A. I got to live my dream. I was the moderator. It was just really cool. And Dan, as I mentioned, has been curating a group called Time Memorial for the last 5 or 6 years, and he had this base of fans. He had seen some of the photos that I did online, and he had reached out to me. So we had a quick conversation. I quickly realized the potential of an event that they wanted to throw, and the fact that he had such a large audience, so it just made sense for us to get involved. But what you have here is 3 partners who never met, 3 partners that live in different states, 3 partners that actually have the same goal, and core belief of love of the Sopranos, and we got together, and the first time we ever met was actually at the Meadowlands Expo Center, and the rest is history. We just got together, and the reaction is absolutely crazy. We launched the website. We hadn't met yet. I think we had 3 or 4 cast members signed on. We put it out to the world, and we wanted to hear what the world had to say. And between the ticket sales that we did over a weekend, we realized we were onto something special. It's lightning in a bottle. That snowball started to roll, and it is a big-ass snowball right now.
Right now, I am with a very familiar face to you Soprano fans. I am with Federico Castelluccio.
Perfect.
Did I say it right?
And I'm here with Helen.
Yes, who played Furio Giunta on The Sopranos.
That's correct.
What a role you had.
It was great. It was great. It was a role of a lifetime, pretty much. I mean, a lot of us struggled for many years, doing anything we could get, really. I started off in theater, doing a lot of independent, theater companies, doing Shakespearean plays, doing all kinds of things in order to get work. And then something like this comes along, an audition for The Sopranos comes along, and it was just pretty much a career maker, for everyone on the show.
Yeah. And then oddly enough, I was reading up on you, and you didn't take acting in school. You didn't have it in your school.
In my high school.
In your
high school, yeah. I wanted to, when I was a lot younger, going into high school, I always had kind of in the back of my mind of trying to get into theater, and I thought maybe the high school might have a theater program, but they didn't. So I just immersed myself into painting and just became a painter.
Yeah. So you're a very good artist, from what I've heard. I haven't seen. I understand that your studio is like the Sistine Chapel.
Not quite the Sistine Chapel, but I do collect 17th century Baroque masters. I've been collecting for about 25, 28 years, something like that. And the paintings inspire me with my own work, my own paintings.
Yeah. So now, how do you feel about Sopranos Con? Isn't this something, what an idea for everybody to reunite and all the fans can come. And, you know, when The Sopranos ended, we weren't ready for it to end. We couldn't get enough of The Sopranos, you know?
Yeah, that's so true. It's the Sopranos Con is basically a convention, and it's going to be a reunion of the 20th anniversary of The Sopranos. It started in 1999. Basically, that's the first time that it came out. And how I got involved in it was through a gentleman by the name of Michael Mota, who is an entrepreneur. He's from Rhode Island, and we had done some appearances together many years ago with the Sopranos, you know, Sopranos cast members. And so he called me up and said that they were planning on doing this Sopranos convention, which I said, you know what, that's a great idea. It's the 20th anniversary. Everybody hasn't seen each other for so many years. It would be great for the fans to finally meet us from around the world. And I heard that there are fans coming from all over the world, from Australia, from London, from France, from China, from everywhere. It's amazing, and I'm looking forward to it because the fans are the ones who really made us.
Yeah. Well, you know, and the terrific acting, because in order to get on The Sopranos, you had to be the best. You had to be top tier.
Yeah,
you had to go in front of David Chase, and you had to go in front of Terrence Winter, right?
That's true.
And you had to be really good. So let's go back. You actually were born in Naples, but you grew up in Paterson, New Jersey. But in your household, you spoke Italian.
That's correct.
And that was a plus when you landed this role, wasn't it?
Well, yeah. You know, one of the requirements when I read the role, the breakdown for the role, was that you had to be able to speak Italian and speak English with a convincing Italian accent. And being that I grew up speaking Italian in the home with my parents, I have to thank them for that, for wanting us to retain our language, our mother language, and then do a convincing Italian accent. And I had been around the Italian accent my whole life, with uncles, with people around my neighborhood in Paterson, New Jersey. And so I just went back and I sort of just listened. I listened to the tones of mainly people that came from Naples, you know, because that's where the Sopranos family was from. They were from Avellino, which was near Naples. And so that's who I went back to listen to and just, you know, listen to the nuances of how they spoke and how they said American words or English words.
Right. And you did a little improv. It just came out naturally, a little Italian saying at the end of your read. And that was one of the things that helped convince them that you were the guy that called you back.
Well, the thing is, it was I auditioned 3 times for that role. Actually, the first year that I auditioned for The Sopranos was for another role that I knew I wasn't right for, but I did get a call back, and nothing happened to it. But when I saw who they actually hired for the role, which was Vince Giuratola, who played the New York boss, he was phenomenal. I said, they really know what they're doing, and the casting was just amazing on that show. I had a very good friend that just had gotten on to the show. Her name is Aida Torturo.
Janice.
Yes, she played Janice Soprano, Tony Soprano's sister. And so she told me, look, Federico, it was one of the hardest rooms that I ever auditioned for, and they absolutely don't want any ad-libbing. And I always thought that there was a little bit of Italianismo that was missing, and I decided to add it in at the end. And Terrence Winter came up to me and said, Federico, what did you say at the end there? And I told him what I said in Italian, so that my last audition was to audition with James Gandolfini. And when I read the new sides, the new script, it had my ad-lib in Italian. It said it in Italian, which was really cool.
What a compliment that is to you.
Yeah,
How did you like working with James Gandolfini?
Well, I loved working with James Gandolfini. We call him Jim. He asked me, first time I met him, it was in the auditioning room. And no, it was actually, we did sort of like a screen test to see how we worked together.
Right.
And then afterwards we met at the read-through, and then when we finally worked together, I had a chance to talk to him, and I told him how I've been following his work for many years, and he looked at me, he's like, "You're following my work?" I mean, that moment told me everything I needed to know about Jim Gandolfini. He was a very humble, very down-to-earth guy that just cared about the people around him, cared very much about the work, and I have no problem saying that I learned a lot working with James Gandolfini.
Yeah. Now, I know you were in Brooklyn Banker. That was a great film. You
I
directed
directed
it.
it,
Yes, and you directed it.
I think the character of Furio was an iconic character. I was so proud and so honored to be a part of The Sopranos and to be able to portray that character. And I'll always be very proud to have done that role. As far as looking to the future, I would love to direct more. I'm getting ready to direct my next film, and that film is from the same producers that produced the last film that I directed, which was called The Brooklyn Banker, which you just mentioned. And this one is called The Queen for a Day. Same
I saw the play.
Yes.
I
based
saw
on
the play.
That's correct.
Well, getting back to your character of Furio, you were one of the few characters on The Soprano that also had a romantic storyline, because you and Carmela
That's right. Yep.
had a kind of a undercurrent of love between the two of you, right?
It was unrequited tryst. Yes, that I never saw that coming. I never saw. I always admired Edie Falco's work, and I was always wondering, like, wow, this is amazing. Be nice to actually, work with her to some degree. And then at the end of the third season, and then she came in, and she waved at me, and I said, "Hey, Edie, how you doing?" She said, "Next year, it's you and me."
Wow.
And I'm like, really? Wow, it's incredible. But then I thought about it. I'm like, wow, does Furio get this?